Hi everybody, Kevin here. Welcome to the Claremont Classic Garage. Today I'm going to show you how you can fix a very annoying exhaust rattle that plagues Dodge Caliber and Jeep Compass and Patriot. These cars, when they get old, develop this nasty rattle in the exhaust. It happens when you're sitting at a light and the engine's idling and it rattle, 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 rattle. And you think, boy, is my engine running rough? So you put a set of spark plugs in it and run some injector cleaner through it. But it doesn't seem to change anything. This is a 1.8 and a 5-speed. And it'll probably affect vehicles with manual transmissions worse because when you're sitting at a light, it's generally a neutral. And there's not like any kind of a load on the engine to take that flutter out of it. Whereas with an automatic, the engine's kind of loaded up against the torque converter. But it will happen to them too. Anyway, the thing's not running right now because I got the battery and the computer unhooked while I'm doing some welding on the body. But I could duplicate the sound underneath. This is what you'll hear. That's more what it sounds like when the engine's idling. So I'll show you what's causing that. One disclaimer before we get started on this job. If your car is really old or you live in a place where they use salt on the roads in the wintertime and it's never been apart, this might not be that easy of a job to try at home. Because the exhaust manifold is encapsulated in a heat shield and there's bolts under there that'll be rounded off just from corroding. There'll be nothing left of them. So it might be a little bit of an advanced job for someone who doesn't have this kind of equipment. I know the first time that I took it apart, I had to torch everything. I had to torch the heat shields off, and then I had to torch the four studs holding the converter to the manifold. Then I had to take the exhaust manifold out so I could knock the studs out on the bench and get it cleaned up. It was a big job. But anyway, it all worked out, and now I can take it apart a little quicker because the heat shield isn't on it anymore. And I've been driving it around like that for 2 years with no ill effect. So I'm not sure what exactly it does, but hasn't affected this car with it not being there. This is the catalytic converter off of Caliber Compass Patriot. And at the engine, you can see this is the arrangement they use for a flex joint. And you can see, looking in there at this one, that it's already started to come apart. The one here in this car is at a more advanced stage of coming apart. I can actually reach down there and wobble it around inside the manifold. Or inside the body of the coupler, I guess. You can see because the heat shields are missing from the manifold. I've already been at this once. Yes, I've already changed that flex joint once. The first time it went, I sawed it off here and welded on one from an old Neon that I had. Because really the only way to get this from the dealer is to buy this whole thing, and it's like $1,100 or something. We don't want to do that. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix it this time because I'm not cutting that off again. I'm done with that. But I've come up with a plan. We got to get some things undone. One thing we got to get undone is this clamp here. Now, I've had this off before. The first time I had the converter off this car. And the pipes actually slid apart. So I'm hoping the same thing will happen this time. Also, in the meantime, I found this hanger broken. We got to now unhook both oxygen sensors and get the 4 nuts and bolts off the flange. Now, if your car's never been touched, it's going to be a fun job because there's going to be a big heat shield top and bottom on the manifold, and you might have to do a little thinking to get at them. But I've already been through that stage, and I no longer have a heat shield. Next thing to do is to pop the 3 little rubber insulators off the hangers and lower the entire exhaust system down onto the ground. That way we can slide it back and it'll be a lot easier to work at getting the converter joint apart. Well, here's one advantage of these stainless steel exhaust systems they put on these new cars. This thing 12 years old, and it comes apart. Wow. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, now we can get on the bench. This thing is shot. So we're going to immobilize it by welding and install a flex joint down here. Hopefully that'll solve our problem. I cut 4 little pieces of rod and welded them across the flex joint like so. So basically we've immobilized the flex joint. So if this doesn't work, I can always cut that off and replace it with another one from another old converter. I've got a few of them kicking around. I always cut them off before I scrap the converters. Now we're going to go ahead, we're going to mark this end out, and we're going to, we're going to cut a section out of it so we can install our flex pipe. This is our flex pipe. I got it on Amazon. It was on 27 bucks or something. So now what you can see, this thing is 10.5 inches long, and here's where we've got basically between the bends in the pipe. It's about 8 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut 6 inches out of the pipe, and we have to trim this back. That'll give us still a good inch at each end to get a clamp on it, and it'll be fine. And then once this is in there, if this works, then we've always got the option. If this thing craps out, we can just slice it off and put a new one on in literally in minutes. So I'm going to go ahead now and damn the torpedoes, I'm going to cut my pipe. Shortened up. I purposely left it about 1/2 inch long. We can give it another little trim after if we need. Now what I've done, I've put a stripe down it so when it's back together I could kind of keep this lined up. Mostly. Now we're going to go ahead and cut this. Once I cut it, it's cut for keeps. There we go. That, I think, is going to do the trick. Now we'll go ahead and put the converter, get it bolted back to the engine. And then we'll put all this together underneath and test it out. These bolts, they went in, of course they go there. They hold the converter to the manifold. This was the first time I had the converter off. I had to blow out all the studs that held it on because I couldn't get anything on the nuts. They were destroyed. So I replaced them with these bolts. It's pretty easy. The studs are just pressed into the manifold, so you just knock them out. And you can go ahead and just put a nut and a bolt in. I mean, that's been holding it for a long time. I fixed up our broken hanger. I've got the converter bolted back to the engine. Nice and solid. Now we're going to go ahead and get the exhaust back up. Well, there you can see the finished product. I've got everything back in place, everything clamped in. It's all good and solid. The trick with these things to make them last is to make sure they're in perfectly straight. You can't have a curve in it. That'll prematurely put strain on it and makes them fail. And you don't want any twist in it. So that one's on there, nice and straight. It's got no twist. It should last a while anyway. Hopefully I get 2 or 3 years out of it. And then we'll just slice it off and put on another one. Now what I have to do is plug my oxygen sensors back in. And this job will be done. Alright, now it's time for the acid test. Nice, quiet, rattle-free exhaust. Perfect. When the car is back down level again, we'll start it up and let it warm up and make sure it's okay. Well, now we'll crank it up and see what it sounds like. Wow. I can tell already it's fixed. Right now, it'll be going bang, 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 bang. That's good. The engine light came on because I accidentally unplugged the oxygen sensor while it was running. Big mistake. Well, once the car's all back together and everything, I'll grab the scanner and clear it. But that's not an issue. Let's go to the back. Perfect. Quiet as a mouse. I'm going to let it warm up a bit though, because sometimes it would get worse when it warmed up. Back in a second. Well, that's perfect. I'd say it's cured. Well, now you know how to fix the Caliber Compass Patriot exhaust rattle. A lot of people, I was reading on the forums, people trying all kinds of stuff to make that go away. But anyway, that's what the problem was that flange coming apart. And it seems to be fixed now, so we'll see how long it lasts like that. Anyway, I'm glad to be of service to y'all, and I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll come back for more videos about Dodge calibers and all the other stuff we fool around with around here. Anyway, for now, I guess I'm going to take off, and that's it. See you next time. This is Kevin checking out from the Claremont Classic Garage. Thanks, and so long.